Yes. No. Burn it. Burn it and bury it.
Your name is Deborah Elliott. You know the signal.
911, I get out of the apartment.
Have you heard about the scandal that cost our 90s American sweetheart Vanessa Williams her crown?
Miss America, Vanessa Williams, took off her clothes, and now she's being asked to give up her crown within 72 hours.
I wish I could retain my title as Miss America. However, the potential harm to the pageant and the deep division that a bitter fight may cause has convinced me that I must relinquish my title as Miss America.
Today, we're diving into Vanessa Williams' sensational story. Not only did she conquer the worlds of singing, acting, and dancing, but she also clinched the Miss America crown in 1983. But where there's spotlight, scandal often lurks, right?
These are the days.
Strap in as we explore Vanessa's groundbreaking journey. From her historic Miss America victory to the scandals that shook her world, her brave confrontation with childhood molestation, and those jaw-dropping red carpet moments that always leave us craving more.
And one night, she came into the room where my friend and I were sleeping, and she told me to lie down on the floor. And she took my bottoms off, and she said, "Be quiet."
Born in 1963 in the city of New York, Vanessa Williams is a singer, actress, model, dancer, and producer. Quite the literal bundle of talent, right? Let's start with the soundtrack of our lives. Vanessa hit the scene with Save the Best for Last.
Sometimes the snow comes down.
And honey, it went straight to #1. We all belted that song in our showers at the top of our lungs, even if most of us were a little unclear about what saving the best meant. But Vanessa was no one-hit wonder. She dropped albums left, right, and center, each one giving us jams of our life vibes. Remember Dreamin'? Or who can forget Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas?
Think you own whatever land you land on.
Oh yeah, she owned that soundtrack effortlessly. Williams also has 3 albums to her credit that went on to be quite successful, with several singles hitting top numbers on charts all over the world. She has several successful collaborations and Grammy Award nominations to her credit. But she doesn't stop there. On the silver screen, she was not afraid to show her range. Famous for her role as the dramatic Renee Perry in the series Desperate Housewives and the sassy Wilhelmina Slater in Ugly Betty, a role that earned her 3 Primetime Emmy noms. We dare not forget she was in Soul Food. Basically, Vanessa can do it all, on both the mic and the screen. Like all of that isn't intimidating enough, she's also an author. She wrote a book with her mom, Helen Williams, titled You Have No Idea, where they talk about Vanessa's career and life. Did someone say multi-talented queen? Williams has been married 3 times. Her first marriage was to film producer Raymond Hervey II, where they had 3 children together, Melanie, Jillian, and Devin. Her second husband was to actor and former NBA basketball player Rick Fox, and they have a daughter, Sasha Gabriella Fox. Her current husband is Jim Scripp, and they have been happily married since 2015. If that's not evidence to the alluring beauty that is Vanessa Williams, I don't know what is. I mean, she was pageantry-level gorgeous. Did I say she was? Pardon me. Possibly holding on to the secret of eternal youth. If Vanessa Williams decided to compete in a pageant now, she just could win. But when she did.
1984. The big man was 13 years old. And I remember Vanessa Williams vividly. Why? Because she was a hometown honey. Vanessa Williams was Miss New York. People forget that. And after winning the Miss New York title, Williams went to Atlantic City, New Jersey to participate in Miss America.
In 1983, Vanessa Williams became the first African American to win the Miss America crown. We were shook.
Did you understand the significance of being the first African-American woman to be Miss America?
I didn't realize how big it would be. When I was touring, older black women thought they'd never see it in their lifetime, and some people would cry.
If we're being honest, she might be the only Miss America whose name we all remember without having to look it up. And that's because she was also the first and, so far, only Miss America to resign from her position. Talk about steady smashing records, huh? Here's what happened. Less than 2 months before the end of her reign, some photos of Vanessa surfaced. And let's just say they were more raunchy than anything you'd see in a pageant. Word on the street is that Vanessa worked with a photographer as a receptionist and agreed to pose in her birthday dress for the photographer. He assured Vanessa these photos wouldn't see the light of day, but honey, they ended up plastered across Penthouse magazine like butter on toast, everywhere you looked.
We heard from a very reliable source that you're going to be on the cover of Penthouse magazine. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, well, we heard from a reliable source that you are. And I said, I still don't know what you're talking about. And I called my lawyer immediately after I hung up the phone. And of course, my reaction was, what's going on? I knew that I hadn't signed any release for any photos. And I really had no idea what was about to come. So it's, at 21 years of age, it's sheer panic and terror. And my initial reaction was, what am I going to do about the crown, but what's going to happen to my life and my family's life?
Talk about shady. Can you just imagine the headlines? Miss America? More like Miss Exposed. The pageant organizers freaked out, and Vanessa was pressured to relinquish her crown. Like, girl, bye. Can you imagine the humiliation? One day you're a queen living your best royal life, and the next day you're simply not.
I fully support the Miss America pageant and the opportunities it has provided for millions of aspiring young women, such as myself. However, it is apparent to me that because all this has happened during the past week, it will be difficult for me to make an appearance as Miss America. I feel my new career will be the greatest challenge in my life. Therefore, I do officially relinquish my title as Miss America 1984 to the Miss America pageant.
Winning that crown and being the first African American sure came with its own perils. Before the scandalous photos ever became public knowledge, Vanessa Williams had reportedly received several death threats and many obscene messages. But she handled that hot mess with such grace. It kind of makes you wonder what could have prompted such a gorgeous, graceful, intelligent young woman with such big dreams to pose for X-rated pictures in the first place.
I said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm sorry. We have no idea what's going to happen. I was stupid, and I took some pictures, and apparently they're coming out.
You might want to brace yourself because the possible answer might shock you out of your seat. She provides us with some of the tea in her book, You Have No Idea. She lets us in on how she was molested at age 10 by an older female family friend. And she's right. We had no idea she held such a dark secret.
And she went down on me, and I was 10 years old. And I knew I shouldn't be doing, or she shouldn't be doing. When you're sexually molested at a young age, it makes you feel things that you've never had before. And I think it made me feel a lot more promiscuous at an earlier age because I don't want to say desensitized, but, I'd already had an experience like that.
As a possible coping mechanism, which she didn't even realize at the time, Vanessa Williams gets rather sexualized quite early on, so much that she gets pregnant and has an abortion all while in high school. As you can imagine, her mother, Helen Williams, only finds out about the molestation and abortion while they're working on the book. Helen says she's shocked to her guts when she finds out, but in hindsight, it only makes Vanessa's actions in her teenage years make all the more sense. It also might explain why she would make the poor, uninformed decision to pose for those nude pictures at the time. But hey, you can't keep a queen down, and Vanessa's moves on to pageantry. Much as Vanessa tries to move on and heads in the direction of Broadway because why not? But she's not ready for what's waiting for her on that side of stardom. After what she believes is a successful audition, she's hit by a brick wall. One that was built using the same dirt from her past.
After I finished the audition, I left the stage and Mike Nichols turned around to the producer, who is Ira Gershwin's wife, Lee Gershwin, I guess at that point, widow. And he said, wasn't she terrific? And he went downstairs to the back of the stage. The phone rang, which was on the foot of the stage, backstage, and he answered it. And Lee Gershwin said to him verbatim, over my dead body will that whore be in my show. And I didn't know the exact words until Mike Nichols told me the exact words. And I ended up writing it in my book because I knew I didn't get it. I knew that I was talented enough. I knew that was a complete reset for me and my career, saying, oh, really has nothing to do with talent right at this point in my life. I know that this has nothing to do with talent. So that to me was like, oh, this is a much bigger struggle than I thought I was going to have to be able to conquer. And that was from Mike Nichols' mouth. God rest his soul.
Girl could not seem to catch a break. But they say the best revenge is living well, so Vanessa is determined not to let them see her sweat. And so she works off her behind to attain the stardom she deserves, which has to be easy when you're ridiculously talented, right? She moves on from pageantry and Broadway and pours herself into making music. It took 10 years of hard work, resilience, and doggedness to achieve the results that Vanessa Williams can now boast of. A #1 single for 6 weeks in a row, 11 Grammy nominations, and lots more. Homegirl had it going on, and she would not stop there. Looks like we forgot to mention that she also became a mother of 4. Vanessa had it all. She waltzed her way into a career that we could only refer to as legendary at this point. So legendary that she didn't bring any lawsuits against the photographer or the magazine that published her nudes.
So I ended up going into a lawsuit against Penthouse magazine. And while you have to do a deposition and your lawyers are talking to you about the trial, and this might come up. And he said, by the way, have you ever been with another woman? I said, well, when I was 10 years old, I guess I was molested by an older girl. He said, well, that's going to come out in the trial. So I just want you to know that expect for that to come up. And once I knew that not only it's not going to be just about the pictures and Miss America, but it was going to be everything about my life. That's when I said, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to fight. I want to get my life back. I just want to move on.
Which was clearly done to sabotage her. Nah, this queen was all about rising above the drama and winning. And let's not forget the looks. This woman was serving us Hollywood glam like she had some secret recipe book. Making major boss moves did not go unnoticed by the world that spat her out for those scandalous portraits. Broadway was the first to come knocking on her door as Vanessa Williams was offered a comeback with her name in lights in Kiss of the Spider Woman. Success, they say, has many friends. And they all seem to like Vanessa now that she's on top, because how else do we explain a public apology from the Miss America pageant 32 years later?
Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of the Miss America organization, Mr. Sam Haskell.
I have been a close friend to this beautiful and talented lady for 32 years. You have lived your life in grace and dignity, and never was it more evident than during the events of 1984 when you resigned. Though none of us currently in the organization were involved then, on behalf of today's organization, I want to apologize to you and to your mother, Miss Helen Williams. I want to apologize for anything that was said or done that made you feel any less the Miss America you are and the Miss America you always will be.
It only took all of 32 years, but hey, at least they recognized that they could have handled the situation better. To sweeten the deal, they also invited her to be head judge of the Miss America pageant. How do we define a comeback? Because this was the mother of all comebacks.
For the first time in 32 years, former winner Vanessa Williams returns.
Well, why now?
I've got a perfect platform to kind of be reintroduced to the organization that catapulted me into notoriety and stardom.
When the world throws lemons at you, you make lemonade. But take it one step further and serve that lemonade to those who threw them at you. And make sure it's chilled, because that's how Vanessa did it.
You just recently celebrated a birthday?
Yes.
How did you celebrate?
60.
6?
Still a tall glass of melanin goodness, Vanessa Williams does not take any of it for granted.
You don't beat yourself up the way we do when we're in our 20s and 30s, and I've got to do this, and I got to be this, and I got to please people. So there is a sense of kind of satisfaction.
Despite losing her Miss America crown, Vanessa Williams remains a radiant figure in Hollywood royalty. With a net worth of $20 million and undeniable grace at 61, she exemplifies how true queens always shine.